All right, the UN releasing its annual World Happiness Report earlier this week, which surveys levels of happiness across more than 150 countries. And this year, the winner is, drum roll, that's right, ready? Norway.
Ta-da!
Can you believe it? Right. Joining us now is socioeconomist Randall Bell, author of Me, We, Do, Be, the 4 Cornerstones of Success, out this month. Randall, what factors went into making Norway the happiest place to be?
Well, it's cold like all the other winners. It was Norway, Denmark, Iceland were all at the top of the list, and it came down to health, it came down to income equality, and it came down remarkably to having a government they could trust. There's a lot less controversy over there in terms of their political system.
So, okay, Iceland, not Ireland. I was going to say Ireland would sort of surprise me with some of the economic woes that we've seen over there. But for Iceland, I mean, you see people, Iceland seems like to be one of the places that a lot of millennials, at least in the U.S., really want to go nowadays. They want to vacation there, even Norway and Denmark as well. Is it about a communal feel, too? I mean, I guess that will sort of encapsulate some of the points that you mentioned there.
Yeah, as a sociologist, that's a big part of it, Kristen, because these people want to feel part of the group. And when you're at different stratas of the economy, you don't feel plugged into the group as a whole. They also have a very low unemployment rate. So people are busy, they're employed, and there's a lot of equality in their society.
So let me ask you this. There's an old logic that says money equals happiness, therefore the strongest economies around the globe must therefore be the happiest countries when it comes to this index, correct or incorrect?
JD, interesting, because in my book I surveyed 5,000 people. Money does matter if you're having trouble paying basic bills. So if you're sleeping under a bridge, money does matter, and don't believe what anybody else says. But once you can pay your basic bills, you're statistically as likely to be as happy as a billionaire. So there's a point to where money is important, but then it becomes less important.
But for the people that you surveyed, I mean, how many of them are at a point where they can be happy and money isn't a determinant? Because I would imagine if some of the people in the survey are young millennials, their situation is a lot different than maybe someone who's in their 40s or even their 50s.
It really comes down to balance. I preach and teach this all day long because money does matter. But so does family, so do relationships. The me is our mindset, taking quiet time to quietly reflect on what's ever important to us, whether it's yoga or meditation or prayer or nature walks, whatever you want to call it. Take the me time to clear your head. That's part of what creates a lot of happiness. Reading is a big me, cornerstone type thing. We as relationships. Stay connected to your family, stay connected to your friends. Don't blow off everyone in that pursuit of the big buck. Money is important. You gotta work hard. I tell my own kid, my own son just took the LSAT. You gotta work hard. But also B is giving back. B is legacy and having some written goals for the future, not just about making money today.
So up there on the screen, we just had the top 10 countries as according to the World Happiness Report released by the released by the United Nations. Our viewers may be saying, I don't see the United States on that list. I know this went to as many as 155 countries. Tell us where the United States falls and why is it so low?
Another drum roll.
There we go.
USA is number 14.
Didn't even crack the top 10.
Not even top 10.
12? Nothing. Wow.
Yeah, number 14.
So why is it sit at 14? I mean, we like to think, hey, are we not the most developed? Are we not the most, the biggest powerhouse?
We like to think we're the most everything,
but
we're not.
Do. Okay,
we really do. It goes to our heads. But the fact is there's a lot of social discord. There's a lot of arguments in politics. For the record, I'm a registered independent, but I see the arguments of both sides.
Sure.
But that comes down to a lot of it. Also, there's a lot of income inequality. Norway and these other top countries, the gap is much, much smaller than it is in the United States, where it's much, much wider.
I've read a lot about these sort of indexes that come out every year, and there's always a phrase that I'm struck by, and it's perceived freedom, which is always carefully taken into account, meaning there's oftentimes a difference between the amount of freedom in day-to-day exchanges that we have, for instance, here as an American people, versus the reality of the situation. How big does that play when they take into account these indexes, and how could the perceived freedom here in the United States, you think, maybe be a little bit different from some of the realities?
Yeah, JD, the thing is the countries that are at the bottom of the list didn't have much freedom. We're talking about Syria, we're talking about West Africa, areas that are war-torn. When you don't have freedom, it really shows up statistically in terms of coming to the bottom of the list.
Did you find that the election results weighed on the U.S.'s score this year?
I think that it wasn't so much the result, it was more the divide. Regardless of who won or lost, there's just a really polarizing divide, and that's not healthy. We've got to look for points of view that we can agree on, and it sounds cliche, but we got to work together. You know, there are things I don't like about Donald Trump. I think he should have a bar of soaps, you know, put down his throat sometimes. There's things I don't like about Hillary Clinton, but there's things I like about both of them. Let's focus on the positive things rather than just being in this brawl.
Okay, so what is this that you have up here that said this? It says beds, wave, yell, read, smoke, trash.
These are my cue cards for
Love
statistics.
It. So it's all code.
I'm gonna give this back. I'm gonna give this back to you.
I love
You gotta
it.
demystify it for us.
Well, the basic thing is that I statistically correlated different habits with different measures of success. Not just money, but happiness, a sense of well-being, all kinds of health, all kinds of measures of happiness, not just money. But for those who make their beds in the morning, believe it or not, they're 206% more likely to become millionaires. Now, as a sociologist, you're wondering why that is. I think it's because it puts your head into a productive mindset.
Yeah.
And when you have your head into that mindset, you're just willing to get out there and get done whatever you got to get done.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you make your bed?
I did this morning. I'm in a hotel. I made my bed.
You made your bed in a hotel. That's extra impressive. I love that.
That's a little freaky is what it is.
I make my bed in the morning as well, and people are like, why do you make your bed? You live alone with a dog, but I still do. I do it for my dog. Let me ask you, according to these indexes, these world happiness reports that come out regularly, was there a time, I'd have to imagine there was, perhaps in the 1950s when the United States was atop of the list, or at least significantly higher, perhaps before 9/11? What were some of the contributing factors, additionally, that aided to that slip if there was a time when the U.S. topped the list?
Well, the U.S. has slipped, and as a proud American, that's unfortunate. I think it's because we're getting into more of this argumentative posturing. And we've got to really, dial that back and say, come on, we're all competitive. We like a good fight. I understand that. And politics are politics. But at the end of the day, we should all unite and get behind whoever the leader is. I mean, even if you don't like Donald Trump, and I didn't vote for him, you want the guy to succeed. I think that's just smart. Of course, when I wanted Obama to succeed, and if Hillary won, I would have wanted her to succeed. I think we need to just calm down, take a breath. We're in this together, and we may have some differences, but we can go about them more respectfully than a big brawl.
I want you to walk through this list a little bit more because it's fascinating here. And what I will say about making your bed, I think you make your bed to become a millionaire, and then once you're a millionaire, you probably have someone making your bed for you, don't you?
Well, yeah,
maybe.
I still make my bed, and I've done all right financially.
All right.
All right.
Fair enough.
Okay, so wait, yell,
Appreciate
read,
your
smoke, trash.
Yeah, trash. I was actually with a CEO once. I went to college with her, and we were going to one of her facilities. She employed 100 people in that one building alone. And I'm talking to her, and I didn't know where she went. I look behind me, she's picking up cigarette butts off the parking lot. The point is and she doesn't smoke. The point is that no job is beneath the millionaire mindset. If there's a job to do, you do it. Not only was she keeping her facility clean, there were hundreds of employees in that building that saw her, that she set the example. No job's beneath me, no job's beneath you. If you see something around there that needs to be done, your mommy's not here to pick up after you. And so that was a really powerful message, and yet she taught it by not saying a single word.
Right. How does this change tourism to any of these places? I mean, of course, the UN does this, but then do some of these places, Denmark, Iceland, Norway, do they see an uptick in tourism after this?
I think they do. When the UN report comes out and they talk about all these things, people get curious. What's this place all like? What's the vibe there? Vibe is a really important thing. How do you feel when you're there in that community?
Sure.
Do you feel connected, or do you feel, alienated? And I think, I'm interested to go to Iceland myself before I honestly hadn't thought about it.
Let me ask you, why would we see Canada so high up on the list? Because I think a lot of Americans would say, well, we would virtually be tied with Canada, if not beating them. But coming in at number 7 is pretty impressive for our neighbors to the north.
It is, and it's also very interesting. I don't know what the statistics are here, but all the winners are cold countries.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, exactly.
I don't know what that's all about. I think we need to investigate that a little bit more. But yeah, our neighbors to the north are statistically more happy and better off than we are.
Yeah, of course, we also have Sweden there, cracked the top 10, which is ironic because that's the nation that President Trump has gone out of his way to criticize in recent months for their terror attacks and their own refugee challenges. You mentioned a few of these, I really like these little nuggets, like the make your bed, to pick up the cigarette butts. That reminds me of this kind of linchpin attitude. There are a lot of things that successful people execute as part of their day-to-day, their daily disciplines. Are there other cool little things like that you've read or perhaps that you practice yourself
I've got
that you advise?
50 of these statistics
So
in
buy
there,
the
but I'll
book.
tell you
That's
some of the
what-
fun ones
please.
is when you're doing driving, don't yell at don't get into road rage. You're expending all this negative energy.
Yeah.
And you could be putting that same energy into something positive. The guy in the other car doesn't care. And so control your road rage. Also, reading statistically really measures up with success. It's that quiet time that really improves our mindset. You know, you can get the wisdom of great philosophers in just a few minutes or a few hours by just reading. You're 122% more likely to become a millionaire if you're an avid reader, and you're also much more likely to have an advanced college degree. Smoking and taking care of your health does not statistically correlate with success.
Really?
The poisons, if you drink modestly. Don't go overboard. But smoking, non-smokers are 258% more likely to become millionaires. That really popped out. Non-smokers.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the other one is meditation and taking quiet time. You dominate not just with money, but in terms of a sense of happiness, a better romantic life, everything else. If you just when you get up in the morning, instead of jumping into the day and just letting your head get full of distractions, you just take some quiet time, plan out your day. Think over your priorities, what's genuinely important to you. Maybe make a call to that mom or that dad or that brother or sister, someone that needs a call. Those little quiet moments, you see, the way our brains work is we're talking, it's beta waves. But the bursts of creative energy come when we are quiet in alpha waves. So there's real science behind what I'm saying. And we want to respect the beta waves, have good conversations, get the work done, but we want to take time and let our alpha waves kick in for that creative energy.
I gotta say, Randall, Bell, unfortunately we have to let you go. I was not so surprised to see Canada so high on the list because Canadians we know are so nice, and also too for my friends that live in Canada, they say it's strictly a 9 to 5 work week, work day. 4:59, they are out of there.
Yeah.
So talk about that work-life balance a bit. All right, Randall Bell, socioeconomist, thank you so much for joining us.
Inspiring stuff. Thanks, Randall. All right.